Happy Friday, or as Rebecca Black would like to say, it's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. You're going to have that song stuck in your head for
Thank
the
you.
rest of the weekend.
Thank
now
you
you
so
are
much.
welcome
Thank you
for that. Welcome into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jbara here with both Jared Smith, Alex Glaze. I don't know how I got so lucky to have both of you gentlemen with me today. We got week 2 of NFL this weekend, week 3 of college football. How are we feeling after last night, guys?
Not great if you're a Giants fan. I'll be honest.
The Giants money line.
You won that, and then you didn't win it, and then you almost won it, and then you didn't win it. The end of that game was absolutely drunk. But I think overall, Giants fans should be very upset waking up this morning. Their team is not in a good place. Not in a good place.
The people that also laid points with the Washington football team should feel upset as well, like myself. Why did I lay points with the Washington football team? Why? Why?
Oh, man. We got a whole show to prep us for this weekend because we're not going to be back until Monday. So let's get right into it. NFL week 2, college football week 3, and then we give our plays of the weekend. Let's get to it. So much to do, so little time. Let's get it. Let's bet it. All right. Heading into week 3 of college football. I'm getting excited about it, Alex. I know you're really pumped about it. Picks for the weekend. I want to start it out in the swamp. Florida versus Bama. Who you got? What do you like?
Okay, so I actually like Alabama to lay the 14.5. I mean, this is the first true road game for Bryce Young, who's the Heisman favorite. I mean, he's been doing amazing for Alabama at quarterback so far. That offense for Alabama has just been rolling. I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over yet, completing 70% of his balls. I mean, he's been having a really good year. This is going to be a really tough test for him. But I'm laying that number because I just don't see Florida being able to score with Alabama, or with Florida, I should say. That Alabama defense is probably one of the best defenses we've seen in all of college football. And this Alabama team is just on another level than everybody else. Nobody has come within 15 points of that team. The only team to come within 15 points was Ole Miss last year. So 14.5, I'm laying that with confidence this week.
I'm actually taking the other side of that because I like Florida at plus 14.5. I think the swamp is such a difficult place to play. And and there's only 3 times in the year that Bama plays outside the state of Alabama. I look at the last time they played at Florida, it was 2011, and they won 38-10. But it's a really, really tough place to play. And I think the Gators have a lot of talent this year. I think Dan Mullen is incredibly, sharp when it comes to offensive planning for the Florida Gators. And I don't know. I think Bama's going to win, but 14.5. I really like Florida with 14.5. Jared, I don't know. I feel like you need to pick one side or the other with this one.
Is this usually I'm the one that's getting the double teamed against my college football pick. So this is, I feel like I'm like the judge. I feel like I'm the judge getting ready to pound the gavel. I'll say this,
Jared.
It's actually not a bad name for a segment. We'll have to talk about that offline. I think so. Odds analysis. Let me put on my Switzerland neutral cap here for a second. Odds analysis say Florida's the sharper side. A lot of the actions coming in on Alabama. We have not seen the line move an inch from the opening of 14.5, despite the public love favoring the Crimson Tide. The totals actually ticked up a few points. So if you think Florida, and Lauren, this kind of speaks to your handicap, if you think Florida can score some points, we know Bama's going to score. The over looks to be kind of the trendier side in this spot. I do not like laying points on the road in the SEC. To me, that would be a stay away from Bama. But I don't really trust Florida's offense a whole lot, which means I don't really like the over either. So can I abstain from this game? Can I object? Is that part of the judgment?
I object.
I object to this game. I object.
My whole thing with Florida, though, they're one of those teams that they have 2 quarterbacks. If you have 2 quarterbaks, you have no quarterbacks. And
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's just not a team where you can come in and try to run a 2-quarterback system. It's not going to work.
Alex, we're going to revisit this on Monday. But until then, we're going to head north up to the Horseshoe, Tulsa at Ohio State. Jared, who you got on this one?
I do not really like betting huge favorites in games, especially when it's I think Ohio State's defense really scares me. And we've seen this line creep towards Tulsa. despite the fact that 75% of the action is on the Buckeyes. This line opened 26.5. I'm seeing some 24s in some spots. So maybe a slight line value on Ohio State based on where the opening number was a few weeks ago. But I can't lay that many points with an Ohio State defense that's looked this porous this year.
Honestly, I'm gonna go off of this really quick because I feel like, at least me personally, when teams lay an egg, they come out with a huge chip on their shoulder.
I agree with that.
The next week. So if I was Tulsa, I'd run. I honestly would not want to play Ohio State this week. I'd put money on Ohio State laying the points. I know it's a lot, but at the
for
same
you
time,
too, you never bet favorites. You're a dog better. This is off script for you.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes I need to, do something a little bit different.
Change it up.
Spice it up a little bit. If you eat too much salt and pepper, the food doesn't taste good. You got to throw a little cumin in there. Got to throw a little oregano.
Oh,
Why
wow.
not? Betting off script for me. But at the same, and I hate betting.
Chef Jbara.
I know. Mwah, chef's kiss. I hate betting for Ohio State, but just being a Michigan fan. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to come out and absolutely roll over Tulsa in this one. We'll see what happens. Michigan State at Miami. How you feeling about it, Alex?
Well, I just don't understand how Miami can be a favorite in this game. Miami just, what have they done to warrant being favored in any game? Let alone, Michigan State look great. I mean, they look great against Northwestern. They could run the ball. I mean, Miami, they barely were able to beat an App State team. That's a good App State team, but Miami should roll a team like that, and they barely beat them. I just don't understand how Miami is favored in this game at all. So I would gladly take the points, but the only thing, as Jared will note, this seems to be like the dog that everyone's backing. So it's like if the public's backing, I don't know, but 6.5 points for me, I would take that and run with it. I just don't think this Miami team is very good.
Yeah, Jared, I know you're in on this one too, right?
Yeah, well, one of the first conversations we had when we did a screen test for this show like 2 weeks ago, or you were all about, hey, I'm going to go watch Michigan State lose to Northwestern. That was one of the last things you said to me that day. You woke up Sparty because they've been playing pretty well since Lauren, stirred the pot there in East Lansing.
I heard it.
You did. Hey, listen, the Michigan roots, they run deep. Alex is 100% right. Miami, in my eyes, should not be favored in this spot, but the contrarian in me does pause for concern. I do kind of like, what am I doing? Am I buying into that public narrative a little bit? But let's look at the stats. First of all, shout out to Stephen Hall, one of the Pickswise cappers. This is one of his 3-star plays of the week. We'll get to the other 3-star play of the week a little bit later in the show. Yeah, and if it's good enough for Steven, it's good enough for me. I am backing Michigan State plus 6.5 here. So we're going to talk about this statistic a lot this year, and it's one that is very common, but maybe a little more, it holds a little more weight later in the year, so I don't want to preach too much about it. But net yards per play is something I look at very closely in college football. Points per game can be a little misleading because points happen in fluky ways, special teams, weird stuff. Yards per play and opponent yards per play is a good metric to me to show how you're moving it and how you stop other teams from moving it. Michigan State, one of the best in the country in this category. They're top 10 in yards per play, and they're top 50 in yards per play against. Miami struggles. Miami doesn't move it that well. 97th in yards per play in their first 2 games this year. So I'm a little worried about Miami's offense sustaining, having to be able to move the ball across midfield, score in the red zone. That scares me. And what's up with De'Aaron King? He has not played well in his first 2 games. He was supposed to be a Heisman candidate.
Well,
I haven't seen that.
Whoa,
go ahead, Alex. I haven't seen it
No.
yet from him.
No. I just think we have to remember also he's coming off an ACL. I mean,
Fair.
You have to take that in consideration. And he came back probably sooner than he should have off that. So
why am I betting on that team then, right?
Exactly. But he hasn't looked right because he's not right. That's why he hasn't looked right.
That's another notch on the belt for Sparty. And I will say this as well. Miami hasn't played well at home lately. Maybe it's the home cooking down there in Coral Gables, but they're 3 straight ATS losses at home. That scares me a little bit because you're supposed to be good at home and Miami hasn't been. So I'm backing Sparty here, plus 6.5.
I know with Ohio State, I was laying the points and then I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I need to get back to betting my underdog. So I'm actually taking Michigan State money line in this one. Woo! Again, Alex, I'm seconding you. What has Miami done to justify being the favorite here? So I mean, the Spartans scored in the first play of the season at Northwestern, and they haven't really looked back since. I think this is going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Michigan State can bring. But yeah, I'm betting Michigan State money line plus money, baby. Back at it again.
Lauren, just a Big Ten backer. That's what she's evolving from the Michigan fan to just a Big Ten.
Bet what you know.
I'm just broadening the scope here, baby. Broadening the scope. Speaking of another Big Ten school, Penn State, Auburn. Who you got? Jared, I'm coming to you for this one because I know this is your Nittany Lions.
So I have a rule. I have a hard and fast rule about Penn State. And you will never get me to break this rule. There's a lot of teams out there that I rooted for growing up, Jets, Yankees, Rangers, Knicks, that I'm fine with betting against, betting on. I don't have as much emotional attachment to them as I do Penn State.
Yeah.
I will never bet Penn State ever again. I've done it before and gotten burned as a favorite. I don't like the feeling of rooting for them to cover and not just win the game. So immediately, the fact that there's a minus sign next to Penn State, I refuse to bet it. That being said, when I look at this game from an objective standpoint, which is very hard to do, but I will try to do it for our viewers, give them a service. I'm a little worried about Penn State's offense because I haven't seen Sean Clifford elevate his game against the good teams. Bo Nix has done it at times. We saw Bo Nix his freshman year, his first start, throw a walk-off touchdown pass against Oregon in one of those early season games. I've seen Bo Nix elevate that game. I need to see it from Sean Clifford. Auburn leads the nation in yards per play. I know it's early. They play the trash schedule, so I don't want to look too much into that. But I don't want to lay it with Penn State, and I would not recommend laying it because we're starting to see a little line movement against the Nittany Lions here too, despite the fact that everyone's betting them. So not only is my heart saying don't bet Penn State, my head also says stay away from the Nittany Lions this week.
Alex, how you feeling? Because you already have your white on. I think there's a white out there this weekend.
I wore the white for a reason. I wore it for a reason. But it's funny Jared brings up that Auburn-Oregon game because I remember tweeting after that game, build the Bo Nix statue right now.
You look good in that game.
And I think we can hold off on the Bo Nix statues. But listen, historically, Bo Nix, not a good quarterback on the road and not a great quarterback on the road against ranked teams either. This is a bad spot for Bo Nix where he is only completing less than 55% of his passes and throwing more touchdown or more interceptions than touchdowns against both ranked opponents and on the road. So Bo Nix just not a good road quarterback here. And I think that we know what this Penn State team is. They have a great defense. They won on the road in Wisconsin week 1 and pulled off a big win there. And we don't know what Auburn is. They beat Alabama State and and Akron.
Make sure you get that last word.
You like to pause there. You like to pause there.
But lag there for a second.
But look, we don't know what this Auburn team is. So I just think this is a bad spot for them. We're going to learn a lot about Auburn. So all we have to go off of is trends and history. And history is telling us that Bo Nix and Auburn not great in this spot. So I'm back in Penn State.
I'll add this. I just want to add one more thing. When I do rounds with some of the the really sharp bettors, way smarter than me, I ask them about home field advantage in college football. And other than an LSU night game, Penn State primetime whiteout is the one game that they will shade to the home team another half a point to a point because it's just that electric. So if the line's moved against, I think it's moved from like 5.5 now down to 4, you can get it at a better spot. And you even have to take into account more the whiteout because I do think it matters a little bit more than a usual home field advantage.
I love that. I'm really, really excited to see the whiteout. I mean, I watched the maze out with Michigan last weekend and the whiteout's just even more elevated. I honestly think that I'm taking the under in this game, by the way.
I like that.
Plus money assassin, big under assassin, but in my opinion, I think Penn State's D is going to hold Auburn down, and then the offense is going to score just enough to win. Just for you.
You're going to watch a whiteout and root for an under. Come on,
loves the unders. That's her.
I mean, listen, I love the unders too.
She loves it.
But Jared, last stat just for you here.
Sure.
In those 9 true road games that Bo Nix has played in, Auburn 4-5 in those games. So if you're staying away as a fan, you might,
I hope Penn State wins by 100, but. But I know they won't. I hope they would because I'll be honest. If you want to talk big picture, There's an opening in the Big Ten right now the applications are being received for a Big Ten champion right now based off of how Ohio State has looked. It's not an open and shut case like we thought. Like there was a number one candidate for the job. That candidate slipped up a little bit, and applications are now being taken for that award. So we'll see.
We got a lot of Big Ten talk today. Cinci at Indy. Who you got, Jared? I know you're big on this one.
This line doesn't make sense. Cincinnati's a top 10 team. They're top 10 in yards per play. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Desmond Ridder, and they're going to Indiana, who has looked brutal in the start to this season. The yards per play difference here is enormous. Cincinnati 9.2, Indiana 3.6. Now, Michael Penix Jr. has been good. I haven't seen it from him yet like we saw it last year. I'm curious if he can step up. But the line movement here tells me Indiana is a live dog at home. It's their first home sellout in 4 years. There's going to be some buzz in Bloomington for this game. Yeah, it is, because Indiana's not known for its football. So I think that gives me a little bit of home dog vibes. And I'd be willing to pull off an LJ here and bet the money line. But I'm going to take the points and keep it safe. I'll take the Hoosiers catching 4 at home this Saturday.
Alex, who do you like with this one?
I'm staying away personally, but I agree with Jared's logic here. This is a big spot for Desmond Ridder and Cinci. But, in the past, we've seen Cinci play these prove-it games in the playoffs when you can probably assume that the Power 5 school they're playing doesn't really care about that game. This is a spot where, Indiana is going to be up for this game. Cinci's up for this game. And I think this is a big statement game that Luke Fickell has here, and he has a chance, but I'm not going to bet on Indiana football, and I'm not going to lay points to Cincy.
I'm going to hold my nose while I do it.
I can't get there for this game.
On Indiana football?
I just can't get there. So I'm staying away personally.
You know me. I like to take the weird games in college football. I like finding the lines that make no sense and that everyone's betting like kind of on the opposite side of me. I tend to like those spots. This is one of those spots.
And on that,
those games also
oh no, you go. Out.
Those games. I was going to just say those games also. There tends to be less. The lines aren't as sharp, correct? Because there's not as many eyes on them. I mean,
the line value here tells me Cincinnati is the line should be moving in Cincinnati's favor, but it's not. It's basically halted at 4, despite the fact that everyone's betting Cincinnati. That when there's zero line movement in a college football game where you're getting 80% or more of the handle on one side, that tells me the books, if they did move it, would be concerned that they would get crushed on the other side. And that's why I usually go against the public in those spots. Like the Miami-Michigan State game, like the Miami-Michigan State game, the line moved towards Michigan State off of 7. That's why I'm not as worried about being on the public side there as I would be on Indiana, where the line hasn't moved at all.
The line's not moving, but we're moving south. Charlotte at Georgia State. Jared, you're in on this one too. Please enlighten us.
Yeah, this is another one of those hold your nose games, right? Georgia State's been brutal, absolutely brutal. Yet the line is moving in their favor. Charlotte beat Duke. Charlotte's looked pretty good. Yet this is their first true road game, and they lost all 3 of their road games last year, and they're not a great road team. So now you get Georgia State coming off of they got their doors blown off against UNC. Now they come home and they face a much easier opponent. I think Georgia State gets right this week. I'll take the Panthers at home. Laying a short number, just 4, not bad, but I think Georgia State gets it done.
We can't finish it out, guys. Oh, no. Alex, are you in on this one too?
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with Jared there. Georgia State just had a brutal schedule to open up this season. They started off with Army. Then last week they're going to UNC. Then they have Auburn next week. This is the perfect spot for them to bounce back. This is a good Georgia State team despite the results we see in the first couple of weeks. And, you're talking about beating Duke. I mean, it's, Duke football. I mean, that's a good win for Charlotte, but let's not act like, it's knocking off, a Titan here. I mean, it's still Duke football. So I like Georgia State in the points here.
Don't tell that to Daniel Jones, but
we can't end our college football talk without talking about the always polarizing Notre Dame. Fighting Irish, baby. I have them laying the points versus Purdue, and I know Alex is going to disagree with me on this one. He rubs his head with it. I think Brian Kelly is going to fix the big plays. I think they're going to cut down on the turnovers, and I think they should easily cover this. They're off to a 2-0 start. The passing game has been clicking. They rank 11th nationally in passing yards per game, in top 50 in scoring offense. Yeah, the run game has been struggling. I think they could break out at any point. I have them laying the points in this one. But Alex is so disagreeing with
Are
her.
we 7.5 is the number, right? It's 7.5.
Yep.
Are we sure? Why? Just like Miami, why are we laying 7.5 points with Notre Dame? Are we sure Notre Dame is good? I asked this
They're
last week. Toledo should have beaten Notre Dame. No, this is not a good Notre Dame team. I'm sorry. I'm staying away from this.
But I digress.
I'm staying away from this. Jared, what do you have? I don't know. I don't like this.
Line value says Purdue's the sharper side.
Jared.
Go from 8 to 7, 7.5. About 60% of the handles on Purdue.
Jared.
I would not. This one struck me as bye. Don't touch this one. Better games on the board. Because I agree with Alex's take that Notre Dame probably doesn't deserve to be favored by over a touchdown against any Power 5 school right now, maybe minus Duke, right? But I would not. I wouldn't back Purdue on the road either in this spot. This is a rivalry game. This is an Indiana game, so I would be a little concerned here on both sides.
UVA and UNC. One more. Who wants to touch on this one?
I'll take this
Alex.
one. Listen, good teams win, great teams cover. Virginia does both 2-0 this season, 2-0 against the spread. I think this is a great spot for Virginia. I'm taking them and the points this week. Their offense has been clicking on all cylinders. They just blew out Illinois. Their quarterback, Brendan Armstrong, threw for over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Listen, it's Illinois. I get it, but the offense is clicking. UNC, great offense too. I'm taking 8.5 points. It's a lot of points for a rivalry game that Virginia has won the past 4 times. So I'm taking the points.
I like it. Well, now that I'm all upset about you guys going against me and my Notre Dame pick, we're going to move into NFL week 2 because we got a lot to talk about here. Cowboys. Someone's got the team total of over 25.5. They're liking Dak Prescott right now. Who is it and why?
All right, so that's me. Listen. I've been struggling with NFL through that's me right here. I've been struggling with NFL through the first couple weeks, so I didn't want to take the total. The total actually they moved up. Wasn't it at 50? I believe it was what it opened. And
this total moved a ton.
54.5. I mean, it's a 54.5 now. That's a huge total. Yeah. But for this Cowboys over 25.5. Listen, Dak Prescott and that Cowboys offense. You take Week 1 against the Bucs, and then you go back to the beginning of last season before Dak's injury. They've only not scored 25 or more points one time. So this offense, they're going to put up points, and I like them in this spot to be able to do that against the Chargers offense. Because what do we know about the Chargers? We saw how the Washington football team looked last night. Maybe the Chargers aren't that great. So I like the Cowboys offense to be able to put up some points in this spot.
I like it. I think Dak Prescott honestly hasn't missed a beat since he got back. I was really expecting him to struggle at least for a little bit on Thursday Night Football against the Bucs, but at the same time, you really didn't see that at all. He came out with confidence. He was ready to go, and he really led that offense. All right, let's talk about my hometown team, Detroit Lions at Green Bay Packers. I know, Jared, you're in on this one. I think we have a different look at what we're betting with this game.
I'll be honest, though. It's a correlated look. Now, I will say this. I'll start the handicap with it. Aaron Rodgers just owns the Lions. This is a get-right spot for him. And Jeff Okudah being out for Detroit really scares me because that secondary was already bad, and Jeff Okudah was the one shining light, and now he's not there anymore. So that scares me a little bit. That injury is very impactful. And Green Bay, I don't think is going to be shy about running this up after they got it run up on them last week. But that being said, Jared Goff showed me a little something last week. And the Lions' offensive line, you'll notice this early with my NFL handicaps. Offensive line play is so important. It starts and ends up front. And I think the offensive line for Detroit graded out as the 11th best unit last week against the good Niners front seven. So I think Detroit's got some spunk. We saw them backdoor cover last week. That's the vibe I get in this game. Packers up late. Detroit driving down to score, but it's the over in this game that really gives me some, lights my eyeballs up because I do think Green Bay is going to be aggressive. And again, I think Detroit's got that, that little spice to them. And that to me smells primetime over. By the way, after last night's over, primetime games, 4 for 4. sailing over the total so far in this very young NFL season.
Yeah, I like the Detroit Lions getting the points, 11.5. I know the Packers, have a really good track record against the Detroit Lions. Most of the time, it's on Thanksgiving Day, and so we always drown our sorrows in eating a lot of turkey legs and mashed potatoes. But this time, both teams didn't look great in week 1. The Lions looked great in the fourth quarter, but other than that, not much more. And the Packers, obviously, only 3 points. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to bounce back in this game, but I really like taking Detroit Lions plus 11.5. That's a lot of points. All right, let's send it down to New Orleans because I am parlaying this, or as I would like to call it, the Jbarlay. I have been on the Saints train since I saw what Jameis Winston was able to do last week. And I know, Jared, you were giving me some crap because you're like, oh, they're playing at Carolina. I don't know about this. You know what? I'm parlaying them together, plus new 294 for the parlay. They impressed me enough. Put money on them. I know they're the favorites in this game. I think right now it's like their money line is like minus 190 or something like that.
You sold me on them. I told you. I apologize. I did more research on New Orleans after I gave you crap about it, and I am not ashamed to admit that I was wrong about the Saints. I think based off what we're hearing from some of the bookmakers, they think New Orleans' roster is still really good, even without Drew Brees. And Jameis Winston does some things that Drew Brees can't, like throw a 50-yard pass. Drew Brees hasn't done that in I don't know if he's ever done that. And Jameis Winston did that very effectively, pushing the ball down the field. I think New Orleans, this is a good spot. If they win this game on Sunday and they win it handily, you're going to see the Saints get a lot of buzz as a potential, Super Bowl sleeper type team.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I look at that. So I said I'm parlaying them, right? San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm also on the Eagles train right now, and I'm taking Eagles money line. So together, Saints money line, Eagles money line. I am feeling really good about it, and I'm on the Eagles train right now. Are you guys?
I love Philly too.
I think this is a good spot for the Eagles. This is a prove it. Are the Eagles for real? This is the game that will show all of us whether the Eagles are for real or not. So I like the Eagles. It's plus money for that money line, right? I like that. Yeah.
Getting 3 in the hook at home. The hook is evaporating very quickly though, like water in the desert. So be quick to get on that 3 in the hook. I did get the 3 in the hook earlier in the week. We are seeing some of that reverse line movement towards Philly, but it's not quite as much reverse line movement now than it was earlier in the week because now the public is starting to buy into the Philly narrative as well. Mm-hmm. I will say this, Jalen Hurts to me is maybe a little bit better of a passing quarterback than we gave him credit for. I know it's the Falcons defense. I'm worried about that being an overreaction. But so far in week 1, he was the best quarterback in negatively graded throws, meaning he had the lowest percentage of negatively graded throws of any quarterback in the league last week. That's impressive because that's not a stat he really performed well in last year. And the Niners injuries, just like last year, it's like rearing its ugly head again. Jason Verrett, that's a huge injury. He's one of the best cover corners in the league, and I think Devontae Smith and also Jalen Reagor might have some space to roam in the secondary on Sunday. I love the Birds in this spot. I did get the 3.5, not quite as bold as Lauren, but I fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
Right? So go
Eagles,
for it.
Excuse me. The Eagles are 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 against the 49ers.
Wow.
Honestly think that's going to play true in this one too. So good pick, Jared. Okay, Cincinnati Bengals at Chicago Bears. For me, this is an upset alert. What do you guys think?
I like that too. It's not on my card yet. Are you on money line for this one too? Are you on
yes.
Bengals money line or? Oh
I'm
my
going
God!
money line for
See,
this one.
listen. If you're gonna take the 1.5 points, you might as well go money line, right?
At that point, it's like, who cares?
Agreed.
Exactly. Listen, this is the Andy Dalton revenge game, right? This is where Andy Dalton comes and lights his old team up. But I'm not so sure that I see that happening. I really like what I saw from Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense in week 1. Didn't really love anything about the Bears offensively, especially, but on defense as well, they got lit up. But I know it's the Rams, and the Rams are really great on both sides of the ball. But this is just a bad spot, I think, for Chicago, even at home. So I like the Bengals money line. I do. It's not on my card yet, but I might be able to get there by Sunday. I might be able to get
the best teaser spot of the week, I think. Getting the Bengals to 3-7. I did that. That is part of my teaser this week. Andy Dalton's 0-4 against the spread as a favorite in the last 3 years. I would never lay points with Andy Dalton, and I would never lay more than a touchdown with Andy Dalton. And if you tease the Bengals, you're getting them there. And the Bears offensive line graded out as the 3rd worst unit in the league last week. And the Bengals defensive line played pretty well. They held Dalvin Cook to 60 yards. That's pretty good. And I do think that this is going to be a game where Cincinnati maybe doesn't win it, but they will be in this game. They will be in this game.
The Bengals spent a lot of money on that defense, and
yes,
they held Dalvin Cook to 60 yards, but Kirk Cousins really did kind of have his way. But I don't see Andy Dalton throwing 50 passes.
I agree,
like Kirk Cousins did. So I don't think that Andy Dalton has that ability to carve them up in that way.
And wouldn't it be a shame if this was the game that Dalton got benched mid-game against his former? Like, how embarrassing would that be?
No,
in the revenge game, you get benched in the
It would be bad for that reason, and also be bad for anyone who's backing the Bengals. I think
I was having this discussion with Jack yesterday, our producer. If Andy Dalton gets benched, that means that the Bengals are probably ahead. So that's probably good for us. I'll take that.
Oh man, guys, we're moving out to Vikings at Cardinals. Who's taking this one and why?
Go ahead, Jared.
Alex?
No.
Alex? I don't want anything to do with this game.
Okay. I'll take this one. I like the Cardinals, and I'll lay the points with them. I like the Cardinals in this spot because, I've said this 3 times. This is where the Cardinals prove it that they are for real on both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray's incredible. That offense is incredible. But on defense, we saw what they could do in week 1, and I think that this is just a great spot for them to show everyone that they're for real and that they can win not only the division, but they are a real potential Super Bowl threat. Maybe they can make it that far, but I don't know. I think they're worth a long shot here. What do you think, Jared?
I think Arizona they were my it team all off season. I bought in on them in March. I love Kyler Murray. I love Cliff Kingsbury. I wish I had their swag. I'd be living a much different life right now. But I really, really think that the line is telling here. And that's why I wouldn't lay it with Arizona. I think Arizona wins this game, and I hope they win this game. But my spidey sense is tingling that this could be one of those spots where we move the line just a little too much in Arizona's favor after 1 week. And Minnesota, what are the Vikings? Are they going to be a team?
Minnesota?
What are Minnesota? Are they going to be a team that just struggles to close games out like last year, or are they going to be able to figure – because they were in that game last week in Cincinnati, and I think Cincinnati's a better team than people think. And I think they're going to be in this game this week too, but I think they're going to lose it late. And that's why I think Arizona probably wins, but I don't know if I'm willing to lay more than a field goal.
Pats at Jets. And I know, Jared, you love your Jets. How you feeling about this one?
So remember how I said I'm not willing to lay points with Penn State? I feel similar about taking points with the Jets because what the Jets do so well is they stay in the game just long enough to make you think they're going to win it, and then they lose by a field goal. And if that's the script this week, then I'm going to lose this bet. But I'm taking the Pats because I think, first of all, Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks is crazy, 21-6. Yeah. Granted, it's only 15-12 against the spread. That's noteworthy. But I think, to me, it's the other rookie quarterback on the other side, Mac Jones, that really showed me something. He was the highest graded rookie quarterback by a wide margin in week 1. He showed me that he got drafted after all those other guys, Lawrence and Field, all those guys. And he really showed me that he's the guy. And I think if you take what Zach Wilson did in front of the Jets offensive line that's now without Mekhi Becton, George Fant has to swap from right tackle to left tackle. He compared that to pitching with his opposite hand. Like if you're a lefty having to throw right-handed. That scares me against the good Bill Belichick defense that I think outplayed Miami last week. They should have won that game against Miami this week. I think they win it pretty handily this week at MetLife, and it's going to be a tomb over there in East Rutherford, which is not really a surprise, right? That home field stinks.
Absolutely. I know. Yeah. I want to talk about the Houston Texans at Cleveland Browns, but it is my play of the day. Are there any other games you guys want to talk about before we head into our play of the day? Because I like mine.
Get to it. Do it.
All right. Hold on. I'll give you a teaser. I'll give you the other teaser spot. So I'll give you Bengals plus 8.5, and we're going to pair that with the Broncos against the Jags just to win the game because the Jaguars graded out as a brutal pass blocking unit, and they face the Broncos defense this week that gets Bradley Chubb back. So we're going to give out one teaser every week. We love to tease you. So last week we love to tease. So last week we hit our teaser. We're going to try to. I'd love to hit them every week. I'm sure we won't. Bengals plus 8.5. Broncos as a pick 'em. That's the teaser of the week.
I love it. All right, Pickswise play of the day. At the end of every show, we give our picks. What is the Pickswise 3-star play of the day? Jared, you hit us with it first.
Maryland tonight, -7 against the Illini. We're talking big. It's a Big Ten show, right? Hey, that's what we roll with. Talia Tagovailoa, not Tua. His younger brother is an absolute rock star. He is killing it right now for the Terps. Almost a 70% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, no picks through his first 2 games. This kid looks like the real deal. The Terps, net yards per play, positive. Illinois, net yards per play, negative. Very easy to fade the Illini in this spot. I'm backing it. I'm going to be tailing this. Maryland -7 tonight against the Fighting Illini.
Love it. We'll also let all of you Pickswise Nation get in on this every single week. Vote on your favorite play. Follow Pickswise on Twitter to take part. You don't want to miss out. All right. Our best bets. Alex, I'm hitting you first. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you got.
Well, my best bet is I'm hedging my feelings because I'm actually going to be at this game and I'm going to probably be miserable. I'm going to the Ravens-Chiefs game and I'm going to take the Chiefs first half. I'm going to lay 2.5 points. I don't know why this line has not moved at all. Full game. The Chiefs favored by 3.5 points. The Ravens have do they even have enough players to field a team at this point? I mean, they've just had really, really unfortunate luck when it comes to injuries on both sides of the ball. The offensive line was brutal against the Raiders. They're going to have to shuffle some dudes around. Not good for Lamar Jackson. I just don't see how the Ravens are able to have any success running the ball, which is what they do. And I know the Chiefs struggle against the run, but I just don't see how they're able to do that in this game and try to keep up with Chiefs offense that I don't even need to speak on that. We know what the Chiefs offense can do. So I'm going to just lay the 2.5 points, get out of there in the first half, and then second half, just drive home sad, probably. So. I don't leave games early, though, so I'm going to stay there for the whole game. But, yeah.
Please do. Please do.
I'm staying for the whole game.
There you go.
Jared, who you got for your best bet of the weekend?
So you have inspired me, Lauren. I've been working with you now for 2 weeks. And you're absolutely destroying me in the Pickswise Play of the Day standings. So if you can't beat them, join them. We're going with a plus money bet, and we're going with your boy, Justin Herbert. I'm
telling you guys, this guy is the real deal.
I agree, and I think they left a lot of points on the board last week against Washington. No Lawrence, no Gregory on the Dallas defensive front, and the Chargers already do a great job protecting. And this, to me, was a no-brainer. I mean, the same game parlays let you kind of put these correlated bets together and make them really spicy. So we got Justin Herbert to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns, parlayed with over 303.5. You might be able to find a 300 out there passing yards. And it's plus 125. If one of those bets hits, I feel very confident that the second one is going to hit. And it's a plus money bet in honor of the great plus money assassin herself, Lauren Jbara.
You're going to feel good come Monday morning. You're going to be like, maybe I'll start doing this more often.
I probably will.
I like it. All right, I got the Houston Texans at Cleveland Browns. Texans plus 12.5. I think they showed well last week in blowing out the Jets. I mean, they might not be as bad as expected. They have a lot of veterans. They're going to compete. And the Browns lost a tough one last week against the Chiefs. And they're heavy favorites, but at the same time, I feel like the Texans are going to hang around. I think the Browns win it, but I think it's going to be a close game. I like the Texans with the points. Feel good about it.
12 points is a ton of points to lay in the NFL.
It is.
It's a ton of points. So I don't know. That game stinks to me. So
Cleveland, I'll say this. Statistically, Cleveland might have been one of the best teams in the NFL on Sunday. They made a blunder on special teams and a blown coverage that cost them 14 points in like 30 seconds. Besides that, they played 59 minutes and 30 seconds of almost flawless football offensively against the Chiefs. So I think Cleveland wins, but you never know. Backdoor in the NFL, it's always open for you, LJ.
Come Monday morning, guys, we're going to be breaking it all down, and we'll see who's right. I cannot wait to prove you guys wrong. All right, that's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Make sure to check out the new look website because it is sick. And also download the Pickswise app. It's all brand new. It's amazing, guys, isn't it? Have you checked it out?
Awesome. It's on my phone right now. It's amazing.
So
I've been looking at it all day.
Navigate Pickswise.com, Pickswise app. Download it for Jared Smith app. Oh my God.
You got that right. You got my name right. I've got the easiest name of everybody.
I was going to say Jared Smith, Alex Smith.
I mean, now that would be impressive. I'd love to get Alex Smith on the show, get his thoughts on this NFL season. Maybe our producers can hook that up, Jack. Go give Alex Smith's agent a call for us.
For Jared Smith, Alex Glaze, Lauren Jbara. Wow, guys, it is a Friday. Best of luck tonight. We'll see you on Monday. Let's get it. Let's bet it.